it's Noah. If you want to come to X-Dubai Skate Park and skate with me, just go to platinumlist.net.
Noah, why are you taking my job, bro? That's my line. Come here, bro. Hey, it's Joe Mango. Today I'm so excited. I'm down at IMG Worlds of Adventure. I feel like a kid in a candy store. Let's go explore. If you want to come and check out this absolutely magical place, they're going to When was your last adventure? Bring the kids down to X Park Junior and let their imaginations It's Joe Mango. When you think of X-Dubai, you might just think of the Jetpack Man. It's a lot more than that, and today I'm going to show you why. Let's go. If he can do it, so can you.
Hey, it's Noah. If you want to come to X-Dubai Skate Park and skate with me, just go to platinumlist.net.
Noah, why are you taking... Come here, bro.
And we are joined by IGF's Global Director of Football and former professional footballer Chris Brown. So good evening, Chris.
Good evening, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, welcome to Sporting Jibberish and Talks Too. We're here in the Radisson Red Hotel in Dubai, Silicon Oasis. Over to you, Stu.
Yeah, right, so my first question, Chris, is obviously we've been having a chat off air, and Jack's already mentioned Crew Alexander was your team. You definitely don't sound like you're from Crewe, so where did it all start from you?
Yeah, I'm no, definitely not. So I grew up there, and I played, obviously, as you do, like your local grassroots football, and the nearest team to me at that point was Luton Town. So I joined Luton Town as a 11-year-old Science Centre of Excellence, and they had the development centres around it, and you go and you play games and what have you. So I started there, and I joined my football there for a couple of years, and then I can't remember how it came about. It was a scout or whatever watched me play, and I ended up going to Chelsea, but I was still signed with Luton, and I was just training with Chelsea, and they said they'd actually got done at the time for poaching some players, and they said, look, Chris, just keep training with us, play the occasional game that's not registered, but at the end of the season don't sign your Centre of Excellence forms for Luton, sign with us. So I said, yeah, you know, great. And Chelsea weren't as Chelsea are now. You know, it wasn't quite that team, but still, it was obviously, you know, I went as a ball boy and things like that. And but while I was at my school in Milton Keynes, Dario Guardi, the Crewe manager, you know, very famous in the game for producing players. They had an Adidas AFCAT coaching event. There's a lot of ex-pros, top coaches and stuff, and it was all done from my school. And being like the kid who just want to play football all the time, you know, I was in every single session, and he was making a few quits. Like, you're in every session. And anyway, I loved it. And at the end of it, he said to me, like, where do you play? And I said, well, I'm at Luton, but I'm going to sign for Chelsea. And he said, why don't you just spend a week with us? He said, just come up and see what you think. And obviously I knew of Crewe's reputation in the youth academy, you know, bringing players through and stuff like that. So I went up there for a week and I absolutely loved it. You know, but it was one of those as well where, so obviously he's the first team manager. He comes and picks me up from my house. Mum and Dad's, you know, takes me back up there. On the way up, he's saying, you know, we've got the new Adidas equipment boots or whatever. What boots have you got? And all these little things. And you know, we played a match and we changed in the first team changing rooms. And like the lads are like, I wonder what's going on here. Why are we changing these change rooms? So just these little things that later on you get to see happening to other players. Obviously trying to attract them to the club. And I signed. So I ended up signing schoolboy forms with them. Like went there. Then signed schoolboy forms, and then went up there as a 16-year-old. So then I moved to Crewe, which was a great. I loved it. I loved it up there.
What was that like then, moving as a 16-year-old from Milton Keynes, or because fair trek?
Yeah, it was a couple of hours on the train. You know, my dad was brilliant because he used to drive me up there before I signed as a full time. He used to drive me up there every week and for the games, and we used to play Lancashire League or whatever. And so you'd obviously like United, City, Liverpool, Everton, Blackburn, and as far as north as like I think we were to Carlisle were in that. So Blackpool. So it was a fair old trek for my dad. He'd done a few miles, and like he always says now that I used to get in the car after a game. He'd start talking to me, and next thing you know, I'd be asleep on the way back. But it was. I mean, I moved in with a Diggs lady, Pat. I still keep in contact with her now. She's a lovely lady. And the goalkeeper at the time, he was from Shrewsbury. He had a stress fracture in his back, so he wasn't in there much. But I've just I really enjoyed my time, you know, being a young footballer. Yeah.
So for people at home that might not understand, because obviously we understand it when you say Diggs.
Yeah.
Just explain that to people. What did that mean for a 16-year-old? What were Diggs?
Yeah, basically, so the club reach out to the local community and they'll ask is there anyone who'd like to come forward, where they would pay them to look after young players. So it happened across the country. So Pat, it wasn't the most glamorous of places. I just remember going to the and thinking, how am I ever going to get up these stairs? There was like the most narrow stairs into this, and it was but she was just fantastic. There's one thing that I would say was my diet kind of went down, and she was typical kind of mum material who fed you up, you know, like a 3-course breakfast and
sausage and chips for tea.
I honestly, I used to go. So we used to come in, and she'd do like a soup and then a main meal and a dessert, and then later on she'd give us money to go to the chip shop. No wonder, like the lads used to take the mick out of my backside.
So during your time at Crewe there at 16, so schoolboy forms, you mentioned that league you're playing in, all those big clubs. Yeah. You must have come across some big names. Well, what ended up turning out into some big names.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to be fair, we played against some good players and good teams. So my age group was Steven Gerrard. So I played against him a few times. Played against Michael Owen. Played Michael Owen twice. Gerrard because Michael Owen was streets ahead of everyone. You know, and we played against them twice. We played against Liverpool at Melwood. Their training ground, and it was just before they played Man United in the FA Youth Cup, so they put out their Youth Cup team, and it was so Gerrard, Owen, year older, it was Stephen Wright was playing quite a few. They had a really strong team, and we didn't have the best of teams. Anyway, we lost 7-1. He scored 6, and I always remember it clear as day. Is that I've been bought off, bucketing it down the rain. And my coach, Steve Holland, who's England's assistant manager now, was my youth team manager. And this ball, so we're losing, I think, 5 or whatever at the time. And it's been cleared for a corner. It comes back in. it goes over Owen's head, but he's facing completely the opposite. We're facing like more or less the corner flag. As it goes over his head, it drops. He just spins, hits it half volley, it goes in the far top corner from the most acute of angles. And I just looked at Steve Holland. He looked at me, and we just both shook our heads and thought.
He would have been a few years younger as well, wouldn't he? Because he's Owen? Is he?
No, he's Owen's my age group.
Same age as Gerard?
Yeah, same age as Gerard. Yeah. So the other teams that I played against, other players that I played against was Ledley King at Spurs. So I was actually it was funny actually. It came up today on Instagram. Used to be a competition, the Milk Cup. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. In Northern Ireland. So we played in that, and there was a picture that came up that said, "Any Borussia Dortmund fans recognise any of these players?" And we had a strong side ourselves, and we got to the semi-finals, and we lost to Spurs on penalties. It's your team, isn't it? Yeah. Ledley King played, and I remember it was about a minute to go, and the ball's come in, and Ledley King's got up in front of me just to head it into basically an open goal, and I pushed him in the back. I thought it skidded off his head, and the ref's not giving anything, and it's gone to penalties, and I thought we might get away, but we never did. But going back to that picture today, is that we played. I've never come across a 16-year-old at that time. Things off the ball, pulling your hair, and our captain Kenny Lunt, who went on to had a good career with Sheffield Wednesday and a number of clubs, he got sent off because he at a corner and one of the lads has just kicked him behind, and he's just turned around and whacked the lad, and the ref seen it, and it was an eye opener, massive eye opener.
Big learning curve.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but yeah, lucky enough to play against him. Joe Cole was another one. He was outrageous. He was a couple of years younger, so I played in a game. It was when I'd come back from against Lillyshaw, went down there, and we were playing a younger team, so I was coming back from injury. I couldn't get anywhere near him. He was just ridiculous, and I ended up putting a horrendous challenge in on one of their, I think it was their centre half, 2-foot tackle, and I got bought off by our own manager and just said, "You're a disgrace." I was just so off the pace, and he just gave me the runaround. I just got so frustrated. Yeah.
So did 2 years there as a schoolboy forms, and then
it was a bit over 2 years. It's schoolboy forms was the 2 years from 14 to 16, but then my YTS, we call them scholarships, obviously these days, was 2 years, and then the the contract had come to an end, but they signed me on a pro in the June. But I'd been injured for. In our first year, we lost to Leeds in the FA Youth Cup in the first round, and they went on to win it, and they had Harry Kewell, Jonathan Woodgate, Paul Robinson, Maybury. They had a fantastic side. We lost 2-0 at Ellen Road. I didn't get on. I was gutted. I was one of the 3 subs at that time, and they bought it. Steve Holland put 2 subs on. I never got on, but I thought, well, I'm a first year YTS. I've got my second year to do, and we had a really good run in the Youth Cup. We beat Birmingham at St Andrews, and then we beat Sunderland. They wouldn't play us. It was the first year Stadium Light opened. Right. So, and they said, "Oh, you're not a big enough club to play us at Stadium Light, even though you're supposed to play in the first team's ground." So that's all you need, and it's one of them. Just right. Well, so we went and beat them, and then we beat Man City. We beat Spurs. Crouchy played at home, and then we drew. But I missed these games, because I'd been injured. I had patella tendonitis. So I couldn't come back from these injuries, and we had Peterborough, Etherington and Simon Davis. They had a really good setup, and we drew them at London Road, missed that, and we lost them 3-1 at home in the quarter-final. So it would have been a good opportunity to go on. But again, I never played, and I got to the contract was due to end in July. YTS signed me pro on non-contract and said, "Look, we're just going to have to see what happens with your knee." And by the October, that was me done. I'd had an operation. I'd had 3 months out prior to that, and that was my career gone. So it was. I got a payout from the PFA. I got money, which I thought was a big amount of money at the time, which I got rid of quite quickly.
I can imagine.
Trip to New York and getting helicopters, and thinking I was a professional footballer then. But it was it's a shame. It's one of those, but. I suppose you look back on it now, and like these days, the work that you can do, you don't get players who get tendonitis and not recovering really. They, you know, the loading and the work that they do from a sports science angle. But I think the last person I remember having a severe one was Owen Hargreaves. He had it bad, but these days I don't hear much of it. But.
Going back to your YT days, obviously I've seen it around with the clubs and the boys doing county football, is that there's always a split between the first years and second years. Second years usually give the first years an absolute annihilation, and then when you become a second year, you do the same to first years. Yeah. So there must be some stories floating about.
Yeah, to be fair, it was good, and you know, we just mentioned before, we didn't get to talk about it, but in my first year, they were building the new training facility, and so we were putting porta cabins for our changing rooms next to the ground. And so you had your first years on one side and your second years on the other side, and we used to get battered by the second years. We had there were some good players in the second year as well. They had like Seth Johnson, who went on to have a very good career. A lad called Peter Smith, who should have had a very good career, was at Lillyshaw and played for England and what have you. But anyway, then they had some lumps, as the second years usually do, had some lumps and whatever. And I always actually remember coming in once, and then you'd get ambushed by them, and there was like 3 showers here, and there was 3 showers there, but they were just completely open, right? So you lads would come in just whacking you with boots and whatever, and this one. Well, I'll tell you what happened to. We had a trialist actually before we go on to it. So we had this trialist, and he'd been with us for quite a while. So, and anyway, he's in the shower, and we've seen this. Rico, he was the head boy, the second year boy. So he's like looked round, and he's come and he's just grabbed him and he's thrown him out of the porta cabins, and we've locked the door on the porta cabins. But the thing was, where the porta cabins was there was a car park, and the car park's next to the ground. There's an AstroTurf just beyond that, and it's the school holidays, so it's packed. This car park is packed. And all he had, swear on my life, all he had was this sponge with him. So he's in there, he must have been there for about half an hour. They've left him out there. It was brilliant. That was good fun. And then I remember once getting pulled into their change rooms and just getting levered with boots and things. And but then fighting back and then realise after I'm fighting back that the 2 of them are not doing anything, and I'm trying to weigh into them and what have you. And next thing I've realised that they're not doing anything, because I turn around and the manager's there, Steve Holland, and he's like, and he was like, right, you 3, get your trainers on, you're running around the pitch. And it was, I can't remember what the time, you had to do it in a certain time. If you didn't hit the time, you had to do it again. And yeah, it was hard work.
Well, I know a story from some of the North End lads that they were telling me that a couple of their lads had just been out around Christmas time and had a few blackcurrants, and then turned up late for the session and stinking, and the youth manager has just gone, here's a pair of scissors, get onto the pitch, I want every single bird cut and give them a ruler, and they've literally left them out there for 2 hours just trimming ground.
You mentioned Steve Holland a few times.
Yeah.
Obviously he's lauded as one of the best coaches in English football. The brains behind Southgate at the minute. He must have been good to work for.
He was fantastic. Yeah, he was brilliant. I mean, I count myself so lucky that went there, Dario Gradi, and had Steve Holland there as well. It was just a complete football education, and like the friends that I've got, still from those days. We're doing the webinars during the summer and speaking to a lot of them that are gone on to doing really well in the game. A head 23s coach at Norwich, 23s coach at Wolves. Kenny Lunt's assistant manager at Crewe. Neil Critchley's obviously manager at Blackpool. Rich Walker is 23s at Stoke. And you speak to all of them, and they've all gone to different clubs, had careers in the game or whatever. But they all go back to the days of the Crewe days, because just so lucky to get that. It was unique, really, and particularly I think like James Collins at the minute, who's gone to Wolves as under 23s coach. He spent, I can't remember, it's something ridiculous. Like he was at Crewe from he was 8 until he was 39. So like in all these different capacities as a player, coach, different coaching roles, and now he's gone to a club which is he said it's strange. Obviously, it's great for him to kind of move on, but Crewe was unique in itself, and see that's why they had so many players that had come through, because they got such a good footballing education from those two men. Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, like Steve was a fantastic coach. Like, wasn't really man manager. I didn't think he had those. He was manager. Took because what happened, Tottenham actually came in for him. They were going to make him academy director.
We always missed out, don't we?
But it was, and the plan was with Crewe is that Steve would step into Dario. He was Dario's prodigy, so he would step into his shoes as manager. And Spurs came in, and it was all, we need panic. We need to make him manager now of Crewe, and we'll move Dario up as director of football. And it was too early, to be fair. It was, and he went in, didn't do well, and was sacked. But I think it's one of those where, in his persona and stuff like that, I don't think he is a manager. I think he's just a great coach. You know, you'd love his sessions were brilliant, and you know you learn so much, but also you enjoy it so much as well. And that's why it's been so good.
Well, I was going to say, because you basically answered most of my question anyway. I was going to say, why have Crewe got this reputation of producing these quality players? Because let's be honest, we had a chat before. Yeah. Crewe's not exactly the diamond place to turn up to. It's like just south of being North, and probably just north of being Midlands, and there's only Crewe, and there's not really a great deal around there. And then suddenly Crewe have got a list of players that have come through that have gone on to be not world class, but gone to good careers. So Seth's a great example of that. So do you think it was just down solely to the managers and the coaches, or did they have a good recruitment policy? Because like you're saying, Dario's picked you up from down in Milton Keynes, which is miles away. Yeah,
I think, to be honest with you, it was just down to the coaching. It was just down to the actual personal attention, the individual, and another one I haven't even said there is Colin Little, who's the under-18s assistant at Man United. And Colin came in late. Colin didn't come through the academy at Crewe. He was at Hyde and non-league clubs and stuff. But he came in, and Dario just worked with him, and he had a really good career after that. And he'll say everything. You know, when you talk to him about what's it like at Man United or whatever, he's still talking about what he wants to take from Dario and what he puts into his sessions and stuff, because it is really that individual improvement. I mean, they do things like as well that when, you know, those things that try to impress you in terms of recruitment, because you're up against the Liverpools, Man United. How do you do that? And then that's in the northwest, but then you also you've got Stoke, your Wolves, all around the Midlands clubs as well. So it's very hard for them being a small club. But they, even when I was a schoolboy, they used to pick me up. So if they played, I remember they played Leighton or in Bristol City and someone else who were southern teams, and I used to drive to Stereo, say, Chris, meet us at this service station. They're on the way down with the first team, and I was like 14, 15-year-old, and I'd get on the first team coach and go to the game, and then sit in just behind the dugout, and these were the things. It's just amazing, you know. And you just think, this is what an experience this is. You know, you just football daft, and Dario was completely football daft. That's his whole life, but yeah, it was just really that individual, I think, approach to it all.
So you've got your injury, you're not going to, and as you mentioned, devastated, and you spent your money on those helicopters. Yeah. What was next? Because like you mentioned, now they try and give people a backup. Back then, probably not so much. So did you go straight back into getting your coaching, like non-league football, or did it take you a bit of time to dust yourself down? It
did, yeah. It took me a fair bit of time. To be honest, because I hadn't played for such a long period of time, I was kind of thinking, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I'm going to get this money and I'll play non-league football, so I don't have to train twice a week, and I play out a decent level, so then I'll get a job as well, and I'll be doing all right for myself. And you know, I was obviously living away from home. It's the worst thing when you're seeing everyone else go out to train. And you know, in the evenings, you know, used to go out a fair bit or whatever, but which obviously not the right life to lead when you're trying to, you know, come back from your injuries or whatever. But when that happened, I didn't realise how it affected me. I thought at the time, I'm fine, I'll be whatever. And I remember we went out. It was like a kind of a going away, brownies leaving, like with a lot of the lads that I'd come through, and we were going out. It was in Manchester, and we was in this hotel, this Campanile Hotel, and over the road was a Tesco, and we thought we'd go and get some drink from the Tesco, bring it back to the Campanile. And on doing that, I had 200 quid, and I lost it on that. And you know, and I think that was just then just lost 200 quid. I just lost my career, like just, you know, and then it all like untangled, and I went through a period of time which I didn't, you know, I went from job to job. I didn't know what I was doing, like in terms of with my life and whatever. I just I'd done electrical work, plumbing work, air conditioning, you name it. I'd done it, and I'd done it badly. Like, it was basically my mates giving me work to give me some money, really. Yeah. But I was terrible at it. It's just to get on there for the amusement, I think. Loads of different office jobs and what have you, and yeah, it like obviously it affects you because you're only just thinking that you're going to be this footballer and that's a life you're going to lead, and obviously it's taken away from you. So. But at 20, I thought I wanted to just get away from Milton Keynes. I went to Australia with my girlfriend, who's my wife now, and we went out there. And a friend of my dad's, had played in Hong Kong and played in Oz, and just look, I could get you play semi-pro and get you, a few quid. And I went out there to Perth, and I had to wait for Soccer Australia were trying to outlaw working visa players just playing automatically, so I had to wait for this thing to come through. So I was playing in reserve games, and I ended up snapping my hamstring. So I just thought this, yeah. So I just went travelling, and then after that I came back from like a year later or whatever it was. I came back and I thought again I was in a job just to get myself some money, and I hated it. I'll start coaching because I always remember Dario had said to me, he said you'll make a very good coach. And I don't know whether he was trying to tell me that I won't, because I'm not going to be a player,
It's supposed to read between the lines.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I think it maybe because enthusiastic and, talk to people and what have you, and probably because, we're going to be a player. But anyway, so I thought I'd go and get my coaching qualifications. I went to Lilleshall because when we was a YTS as well, yeah, I remember him just. I was doing my session. He was just smashing balls everywhere and stuff like that. But yeah, so went and did that, and I was really glad for then. I'd done that. I wouldn't say that I fell in love with it straight away. I still on that course. Loved being on that course because I love playing in the sessions. Yeah. And my knee was good enough to kind of like get by for it. It was one of them where if I trained for a week, it might, or I'd be icing it, whatever, and then I'd maybe come back and then it would go again and things like that. So in those sessions at Lilleshall, I loved it, and then gradually as I started to coach, I started to enjoy it more.
Yeah, PFA are good though, aren't they? Because you'll get, being part of that and having that payout, you'll get courses that it's like next to nothing. It's like ridiculous £1,000. You guys, it's like 100 quid.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I do remember that's one thing as well. I rung the PFA up. I remember to speak to my dad one Sunday evening. I said, Dad, I don't know what I'm doing. What? He said, well, can you call the PFA up? And so I called the PFA up, and realistically, that's the only thing they could offer. There wasn't anything really at that time, and so that's why I signed up for that. And like I say, I ended up doing my UEFA B. I came out to Dubai and I signed up for my UEFA B through the PFA. They'd already subsidised the Lilleshall one, but that was with anyone could join that course. But the UEFA B was a PFA course. So I remember rocking up at it was at Chelsea's training ground. They just moved there, and I pulled into the car park, and this big Mercedes Jeep pulled in beside me. Bear in mind that I'd just been at my mate's stag do in Amsterdam. I was not feeling the best. And anyway, I get out of the car, and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank gets out of the car, and Salau Al-Kahori is the Charlton centre half at the time. They both get out of the car, and they said, "Oh, hi, morning." He said, "You here for the course?" I said, "Yeah, are you here for the course?" They went, "Yeah." I thought, "Oh no." So walking upstairs into where everyone was meeting, and there was like all sorts of people in there, like Richard Shaw, I remember he was a fullback, Rufus Brevitt, Neil Harris, Dougie Freedman, so all these players, and I'm like, I don't know, they're all, how you doing, right, to all each other, and I'm kind of sat there like, feeling terrible after we just hung over from Amsterdam, and but it was a great week. It was absolutely brilliant.
It must be intimidating though, because I've done the coaching badges as well, and you have to do the sessions, and you might be doing like a drill pass session, and suddenly go, right, Brownie, you're up. And then Jimmy Floyd stood next to you and you're like, oh, I've got to get this nailed on here.
Yeah, he was funny like on the course because he just wanted to go and goal all the time. He kept going, I'll go and goal, I'll go and goal. But then I played against him in a session as well at one point, and I tried to like get a bit tight on him, and he just looked at me kind of like that, and he literally with his bum just went like that, and I've gone back about 5 yards. He was a good character, and it was daunting at first, 100%. But then everyone, Richard Shaw was brilliant for one of the first sessions. And again, it's all right when you get on the pitch and you play and you can play a bit and stuff like that. You earn that bit of respect as well. So, but he said to me, they picked a back three, and it was me, Rufus Brevitt, and Richard Shaw. And Richard Shaw, Brownie, where do you want to play, mate? And I said, listen, you play wherever, you tell me where to go. So it was an enjoyable. Mark Bircham was another one as well, so it was a good course.
And so then you mentioned Dubai. When did the move to Dubai happen?
Yeah, it just 2004 came out, and basically I just again I'd come back from Australia, started doing the coaching course, and then I'd gone out. I'd followed my now wife. We'd had this little break up, and it was like. And we were kind of together again, and then I said, no, I'm going to go travelling on my own. And then, anyway, she got to get a job in Greece, and I thought, what are you doing getting there like that? She said, well, you're going off, and I said, well, I was only saying that. And anyway, so she got a job in Greece working in a hairdressing in a hotel, and I followed. We got a job in the French Alps, went there, worked in the bar again, and came back from there, and she wanted to get away again, and again she managed to secure a role out here, and it happened to be that the guy, it's actually Clark Francis, who obviously a lot of people know around here from his tennis, but he was best friends with a guy called Rod Hartshon, and Rod owned eSports, which is now ESM. So I ended up coming out coaching for a couple of years, and then went up to Jebel Ali.
Excellent. So you've gone from esports, and then what happened was It's Just Football is.
Well, no, that was later. So what happened first is that 2006, the JA Jebel Ali Centre of Excellence opened, and it was a warm weather training facility. Viv Anderson, Tony Woodcock were the consultants on it. The idea was to bring obviously over teams to stay at the hotel, use that facility. And I got a half decent name within coaching the community, and Mick Leonard, who was the academy director at the time, played for Notts County and Chesterfield and people. He brought me in as the academy coach, but brought me in as well because I brought a lot of kids across. We started the FA Coach education courses there. I started the Youth League 2007. Mick left to go back to run Notts County Centre of Excellence. So I took his role 2008 to manage that facility till 2013 when I set up It's Just Football. So I set that up, but I kept the partnership with Jebel Ali Group, and we kept the academy there for some time, but then moved it to Dubai College. That was 2013.
So just for everyone, It's Just Football, how many kids you've got involved, what does that look like really for?
Yeah, so it's gone, what we tried to do with It's Just Football as well is, one, it's the youth academy, but we've also, at one point we had the league, and then we also we took over the coach education courses with English FA as well. So we're trying to build a program that it's not just all your eggs in one basket. You can go and get your education as well, and then also there's the professional side to that with the teams that we still bring in from. We had 2 Chinese Super League teams here this year. Derby County was the year before last. 80k from India. We would have had Chelsea this year if it weren't for the Iran America thing. So, and we do work with the professional players. So, for example, like in February, during the Premiership break, we had Danny Drinkwater for 4 sessions, Mason Mount for a couple of sessions, Ross Barkley, Andros Townsend a couple of times. So, because we've always kind of prided ourselves on bringing good coaches that have worked in the game in England, A licensed, B licensed coaches that obviously know their stuff, and can not only educate the young players but also work with players when they're coming out here for holidays or rehab or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think at this point it's a good opportunity. My wife wanted me to say thank you because she went along to the Teddy Sheringham one.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe there was quite a cohort of mums there that were enjoying the session that Teddy was putting on.
Oh, really?
Harry enjoyed it for the football, and I think the mums were enjoying it for another reason.
Yeah, I mean Teddy, he's brilliant, Teddy, and his mum's favourite. Obviously, he's a lot of ladies' favourites, isn't he? But he how that came about really was it will be 10 years next year, so 2011. Derek White used to play for Celtic and Middlesbrough. Derek White come and work for us at the Jibberish, and we said, look, why don't we start? Derek's got a huge amount of contacts. He was working doing the Premier League at the time, many years ago, and he said, well, you know, all these people that we know, why don't we do an England-Scotland game? And obviously the amount of bricks out here. So we done it basically. It's a golf day, gala dinner, and then the game the next day. So we had like Neil Ruddock as the speaker the first year.
I've seen him. He's wild.
He's wild. I thought we might get thrown out of the country or something. He was hilarious. I've probably have a few stories to tell off air with Neil, but and it was actually the second year that it happened. Is that when Teddy was out on holiday and Gary McAllister was playing, like Paul Walsh, Lee Hendry, Seth Johnson. Carlton Palmer when he was here, Trevor Sinclair when he was here, Scotland, Ali McCoy played in it, John Collins. We've had some really top people, Andy Gorham. But then Teddy was here on holiday, and Gary Mack was playing golf with him and said, "Look, Teddy, you want to come and play in the game?" So he come, play, and he was amazing. He was just brilliant. Him and Trevor Sinclair just. I don't know. I think they both got hat-trick each. Smashed Scotland. It was brilliant. From that time, I've just become mates with him. I went and played golf with him after that, and just become like decent friends with him. Which is quite surreal. I remember, I think one of the first times I went around to friends with him. We had a barbecue, and we were driving home, and I said to my wife, I was like, I can't believe we're just sitting there having a barbecue, like just talking like that with Teddy Sheringham, having watched him, Euros and everything. And now it's just, it is what it is because, he's a top guy, and he came out and done us a real big favour. Him and his son come out and done the coaching clinic for us at Nado Sheba and Dubai College. And like I said, there was a lot of kids, but a lot of mums, funny enough.
It's funny because normally probably all these nannies would have turned up, but then with Teddy being there, all mums were like to the dad, yeah, I'll take him today, don't worry.
And so, what's the future like for IJF or plans? Any Teddy back over at any point?
Yeah, I'm sure he will be. Well, he will be as soon as the COVID and situation. He loves to bike, so he was always out here. Obviously, I know Kirk's had him with GoPro. Obviously, who does the stuff at the Royal Meridian. So he'll certainly be out, no doubt. Probably October when there's half term with the kids, with Chrissy and the kids. But I think for us, it's really. The continuity, like Paul Collins, our academy technical director. So I've kind of moved away from the coaching. I haven't really coached for the last couple of years unless it's one-to-ones. So Paul's been doing a great job with our coaches, and they've built now. They're partnered with VSM, so obviously coming into the school, and the numbers have grown. And now from this season starting, we'll have every age group really. We'll have an under 18s, won't have 17s, but we'll have 16s all the way down. So, and also alongside that, it's the one they can play on a Saturday, but two, there's the work they've been doing for those kids that might not play in a league basis to give them match experience as well, on an internal basis as well. So, yes, they're doing a very good job, and I'm concentrating on the coach head and the pro teams if anyone ever comes back out on a plane.
Well, I'm going to go back to, because I've heard his name mentioned a few times in this chat, and I'm guessing you must be friends with him from the playing days, but Seth Johnson, his name kept popping up a few times.
Yeah, Seth, well, I mean, I know, going back, Seth was a year older than me at Crewe, and he was outstanding as a player. We become mates, like, from when I first got there. He was being best man at my wedding and stuff like that. He's a bit wild, like Seth. He retired. He was 28 at Wembley. They played West Brom. So obviously he had the career at Derby, and he actually could have signed for Liverpool. He had the opportunity twice to sign for Liverpool. He signed for Derby at that time, and then went to Leeds. Obviously during that period of Risdale and when they had Rio and everyone was there. So, but he was. I've done a webinar with him in the summer, and just to really give people the story of what happened to him, because everyone relates him to Leeds and everyone relates him to the money and the contract, and which it's not the case at all. The story behind it was not true, and so he was good. He kind of opened up about that, and because I know that side of stuff, and he's just been very unlucky with injuries. And I was at Wembley with his mum watching when he'd gone down. There's like 2 minutes to go against West Brom. They beat him 1-0 to go back into the Premier League after he'd gone back from Leeds to Derby, and he's holding his knee, and that was him finished at 28. But he hasn't done anything since other than go on holiday and drink. Basically, that's what his life's been. So it's not a bad life.
No, but it's not.
No. Any more? So before any more kind of stories that stand out during either? I mean, obviously you had a fledgling career, or during. I mean, obviously you've met a lot of people and over the time. Yeah,
I don't know really. I suppose. I mean, I have been lucky to kind of stay in contact with people within the game. So I do get to hear a lot of stories, and at one point be involved, I suppose, in a few things. That I mean, like when Seth was at Leeds, that was a bit of a wild time, and as well as kind of dealing with that, where you don't. It's only now you kind of look back and go, because you've come out of football, then you've got a best mate who's doing so well. Not that you're jealous, but obviously there's the envious bit, and money's no object. So it's always like you go out on a weekend, but that weekend would turn up into a few days or whatever, because I didn't have any money, but I'm just a happy brownie, and I'll pay for this or I'll pay that, and it's. He built a bar in his place. He had bar 6 because they say he only had 6 teeth and stuff like that. And just that was it was a bit wild and stuff. That I remember 2 different training grounds at Leeds, being in the back of his car while he's training and just trying to get sleep, and at Derby. But you're going out till silly o'clock at night, and he would just go and train then, and still be obviously top player. I don't think you can do that these days. Obviously players don't do it these days. They're such athletes, aren't they? But it was good. It was fun times.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to it. When you said that you had just been released and it was that £200, just lost £200.
Yeah.
And your dad's made to PFA. Give them a call, and they've obviously give you the coach option. I just wonder now. I don't know if this might be something to do with that. You could have gone down a dark road at that point. You could have easily just gone into, I'm depressed, this is going to happen. Mental health is obviously so prevalent now in everything that everybody does.
Yeah.
There wasn't a great deal of support for you.
Yeah.
So you at points you could say you were pretty fortunate that you could have.
Yeah, I mean certainly, and I think even since that time, really, getting down on whatever, and whether that stems from that period of time, you don't know really. But there wasn't anything like that. There wasn't that support network. There wasn't anyone to call you up and say. Because I remember I went AWOL basically. At the time I was still supposed to be going in. I was still on a contract with Crewe and they were still paying me. But I knew that it was finished and I knew that I was signing this. So it was after that, and I was supposed to go. I was supposed to be in the club on just Monday morning or whatever. I didn't go in. I didn't go in for about 3 or 4 days. I just went crazy, And Dario, my mum, and I knew my parents were away on holiday, so I'd just gone back home and I'd gone wild with my friends, and Dario eventually got hold of me, my digs lady, blah blah blah, and ended up going to go and see the manager, and he said, "What do you think you're doing?" I said, "Well, basically, everything I've ever thought I was going to do has been taken away." She said, "Yeah, but you can't live your life like that," because she said it is what it is. You're unlucky, but that's probably about the only talk that I had. These days, the clubs have got welfare officers. They've got a hell of a lot to fall back on. I think you read, there's been a lot of articles recently, hasn't there, that lads at Man United and stuff like that have basically just been at the club for such a long time, been released, and there hasn't really been anything for them either. What I would love to see, and which I've never even read about it, is that, particularly obviously with the big clubs and the big owners, and they've got different companies and what have you. if there was some sort of way that the lads have been released could at least get a chance to go and work at one of these companies that they may have in some sort of, you know, like data or whatever it is that you can link it back to football, because I think that would be a nice support, a way to you know, try and keep them from going down, you know.
Well, you're looking at it now, there's so many, there's analysis teams, it's not just like one person sitting there anymore. You've got sports scientists, you've got strength and conditioning people, so there is plenty of opportunities, and then you've even got the business side of the football, haven't you?
Yeah,
exactly right.
But I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. They do a little bit, obviously cricket, I said off air, my things, the PCA do quite a lot of that.
Do they?
In terms of they'll sit down, because obviously cricket, A, is a short career, B, nowhere near as lucrative as a footballer, so they do quite a lot. They sit down and go, what would you want to do, Chris? What do you fancy doing? And they try and facilitate that learning, so that, and lots of cricketers gone into weird and wonderful jobs on the back of that, because again there's not as many jobs within cricket as probably football. I think it's a great idea. What do you say to your kids, or the kids at the IGF? What would you say would be the one thing or the two things you can take away, advice? Because obviously we've talked to a few who have had, I don't know, it was disrespectfully, had a career, like we talked to Matt Hockin, 207 Football League appearances, and they all say different things, don't they? It's coming from somebody who had it ripped apart from you, and like you say, actually 10 years later you probably would have made it, because the knee injury wouldn't have been that disastrous. So.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult to say, because you know you can look back on it in different ways, and I'll be honest and say that the lads in my age group, there was David Wright, Kenny Lunt, who were better players, and Rob Hulse, you know, and I wouldn't put myself and say that I would have gone on and had the career that they would have had, but you know, you never really know, do you? It's always about who likes you, who, as long as you can keep yourself fit and you've got an opportunity. In terms of my ability, I had belief in my ability, technical ability. Physically, I wasn't great. Obviously, look at the size of me, and I wasn't that quick. But you kind of never know. But what I would say with that is that I had a great time. Like, I had absolute brilliant time. I loved it, and I loved that period. So I always look back on it fondly. But then it's only probably, you know, I've got 4 children myself now. The oldest is 6, but only probably maybe since having children have I actually thought, because I always just think, got to be a footballer. That's all, you know, driven to do that. The percentage is obviously becoming a footballer, but then the percentage of actually being a successful footballer and earning a lot of money are, you know, minute, aren't they? Yeah. So now I would say that the education side of it, and you know, I always used to think, but it really is true. It is. You know, it can take you to great places and it can give you great memories, and it has done. But at the same time, you've got to have something to fall back on, and I think I've been lucky. Because I've got a great education, from a football education for those people. Some people might not have been so lucky and might have been injured or released or whatever, and have just gone off the rails, or just, you know, found themselves in difficult places where they can't kick on or whatever.
My last thing is, obviously before we go to it, we'll say it bye to our viewers, but if there's any parents out there that want to get the kids involved, or if there's any dads or mums out there that want to do the coaching badges, who do they need to contact?
If you just go to itsjustfootball.com, then on our website, and then that will have all the information about the sessions, the coaching courses, and yeah. Well, there's one that's really interested me, and we've had a chat about it. It's the level 3 award that you do, and especially for the lads from England, you can do it here, and then you can convert it into the B licence as well. Yeah, it's been massive. I've been trying to persuade the FA basically to deliver this course for a long time now, and we were due to do it in April, but that's now been pushed to October. So like I say, it's as long as you have the level 2 or the FA international licence, then you can, or if you have a B licence from another federation, so if it's AFC, you can come on it, because it is so sought after to get that UEFA B. And it is more or less impossible now if you are living outside of England and you want to get that B licence to get it, because ultimately the way that it's assessed and the way that it's put together is working at a club, and the tutors come in to obviously to educate you. So but we've been able to do a 10-day block, which is going to be in October. Then coaches then go away, they work 16 games I think with their team, and then they come for a 4-day block of assessment interview period. We've got two the best coach educators that England have had for a few years, a guy called Steve Rutter and Jeff Pike coming over for that. And then, like you say, once you have that, once you've successfully passed that, you can then go back to England and get it converted into UEFA B, because obviously you're attaining it here in an AFC area, so you need to be in the UEFA area to do that.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Brilliant, thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching. We're now going to go and sample a Raddy Red blackcurrant or two, I think. And don't forget to catch us on all our platforms, as well as Platinum List for our weekly podcasts, and watch this space from some more talks too, and another live chat coming up in August. Good night.
Hey, it's Joe Mango. When you think of X to buy, you might just think of the Jetpack Man. It's a lot more than that, and today I'm going to show you why. Let's go. If he can do it, so can you.
Hey, it's Noah. If you want to come to X Dubai Skate Park and skate with me, just go to platinumlist.net.
Noah, why